All right, YouTube, once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. Talking Auburn football, go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. So, with this coaching search, a lot of Auburn football fans, I'm big on social media as far as not like a popular guy like that, but I'm just saying like big on looking at what the climate is social media wise and who the Auburn fans want. And big names like the Urban Meyers, and maybe we can even argue that Steve Sarkisian might be a name and other guys like that. But what Auburn fans or people that are close to the program outside of being boosters have to understand is what do the coaches that are coming to Auburn want? And I don't believe that Auburn is willing to give the autonomy to prospective coaches what they really want. Because the outside looking in coach that says, okay, I want to take Auburn to a championship level, what they're saying is, I want to come in and maybe, just hypothetically speaking, I want my own folks. I want my own guys. I want my own assistant coordinators, because especially for some of the more established coaches in this mix, they're just looking at the whole entire Auburn staff, they're going to want to come in and they could want to clean house, so to speak. And they might want to keep a few guys here and there, like say Travis Williams or maybe even Kevin Steele, maybe. Then on the offensive side, the typical coach that is in the mix for the Auburn job just wants to clean that all the way out because it hasn't been productive. It hasn't been productive for many years. And, want to just say, hey, let's start over. But the Auburn administration, maybe even pushing the envelope a little bit, the Auburn boosters may be at a level to where they say, okay, you can come in, but here's what you got to do. You got to keep this guy. You got to keep that guy. No, you can't get rid of that guy. Well, maybe this guy's on the fence to where we can afford for you to get rid of him. I just don't think that any coach that comes in to Auburn, especially where they are at the moment, and just clean house. And even from a logistical standpoint, it kind of sort of doesn't make sense for Auburn to pursue a coach that's going to want to clean house, because there's some things that Auburn was doing pretty well. On defense, they were doing pretty good with Kevin Steele as the defensive coordinator, Travis Williams, co-defensive coordinator, linebacker. Travis Williams obviously having Auburn ties, having been a former player. So it doesn't make sense if a guy is coming into an interview and say, hey, look, in order for me as a coach with where I am in my career and what I've seen as the trajectory of what will Auburn take to the next level is for me to bring my staff in and we make this thing happen. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, there are not many programs that would do that, especially with where Auburn is now, because Auburn wasn't fundamentally terrible on all facets of the game. The biggest part was the offensive production. For the most part, very haphazard, very unorthodox, and very chaotic, to say the least. Now, I would have thought that Billy Napier would have been the guy that says, I'm a young and up-and-coming coach, come to Auburn, kind of maybe bring a few of my guys over. Because really, when you think about when a head coach takes another position, they have to take into account the guys that are dependent on them. and the decisions that they make. So they can't make this decision selfishly. They can't just say, I'm going to just jump ship and leave all the guys that I brought in as assistants and coordinators and all this other stuff. I just can't leave them by the wayside. So in coming to Auburn, I'll admit this is a very difficult decision for a brand new head coach. And Auburn fans may not want to admit this, but your administration, from what I can see from the outside looking in, is not willing to do the clean house policy on this one. So that means you may not get the Steve Sarkisians. You may not get some of the big name coaches that you want, because those big name coaches are going to come with not only their coaching expertise, but they're going to come with their own set of demands as to what they want their coaching staff to look like. And I know that from a managerial standpoint, because I would hate, as a manager, for someone to tell me basically, you can take this job, but these are the pieces that have to stay in place in order for you to take it. And I don't think the Auburn fan base is willing to accept that this is where the team that you cheer for, this is where they're at. Urban Meyer ain't coming to Auburn. So let's stop talking about him. Billy Napier, from what I hear from social media outlets, probably is not coming to Auburn. Steve Sarkisian, from what I understand, may be in the mix to accept an extension in his contract, is probably not going to leave. So guess what you're going to get? You're probably going to get a coach who probably will be good enough to keep Auburn above water, keep Auburn in a situation to where they're competitive, kind of like Tommy Tuberville during his tenure, until he just gave up. Gene Chizik never had a chance. Probably, looking in hindsight, I was looking at some games from that time period. I was even looking at the Northwestern game, to where Gus Malzahn has been doing all this crazy stuff even since then. Auburn up 21-7. Gus Malzahn starts to doing the acrobatic stuff. A couple of turnovers later, Northwestern is back in the game. So what do you really want, though? What do you really expect? I'm not saying that Auburn should succumb to mediocrity, but they have to succumb within the parameters of the culture of the program. And the culture of the program right now is not a clean house culture. You're not going to get an Urban Meyer who's going to fire everybody who is currently on the offensive and defensive staff, and that be acceptable for the Auburn administration. It's just not going to happen. And there could be a situation to where, even with Billy Napier, he was an easy shoe-in to say, hey, you're a young coach. You know, you're up and coming. Here's what we'll do here. Here's what we'll do there. And you accept it. But he's probably like, no, I don't want to do that, because I don't want to put any detriments on my career long term, to where I don't have the autonomy to choose who I have as coordinator or not. And that's being real, guys. That's absolutely being real. You can say, well, that means Auburn is going to just be mediocre. They're going to be like Tennessee. They're going to be like Arkansas. I don't think so. Auburn has not been like any of those teams. They've had some down periods. 2008, 2012, but really and truly not any significantly down years. And the Auburn coaching staff kind of sort of stays in place. Now, I know a lot of you guys will be like, well, Kennard is a sunshine pumper. He's this, that. But I'm being real, guys. You're not going to get a head football coach that the administration will choose that is going to clean house. So what you want to hear next? Okay, you hire the new coach, right? And what you want to hear next? The first move he makes is to fire Travis Williams. You guys will be freaking livid if that was the case. New coach comes in, fires Carnell Williams as the running back coach. How will that sit with you? Because a new coach probably has his own running backs coach. Probably has his own version of Travis Williams. See, from what I can see of this whole trajectory is that Auburn wants to keep the basic components of the assistant coaches in place. That's why this is so difficult. And that's why you guys are reading into the media jargon of this being a debacle. A new coach is not trying to come in and just readily accept some of the guys that are already there. And that is just square business. And if you all don't want to accept it, that's cool. I mean, you're still going to scream War Eagle, assuming you're a genuine Auburn fan. But that's why this thing is a debacle right now. A complete debacle. Gus, in all intents and purposes, his philosophies, his unwillingness to evolve his offense is what got him fired. And that is what Auburn can't afford to move forward with moving long term. But that comes at a cost, though, because you got some pretty decent, accomplished assistants there that where are they going to go? And I don't think the Auburn boosters, with the protective interest that they have, are not willing to just let them go cold turkey. It has to be an assistant. It has to be a head coach that says, you know what? I see what Auburn's got going on down here. I see some assistants that need to go. I see some assistants that my hands are tied. I'm not going to be able to let them go. And that's the realism of this particular hire, but you guys don't want to accept it. Urban Meyer? Are you freaking kidding me? Urban Meyer is not going to come to Auburn and hear the Auburn administration tell him, look, you got to keep this guy or else. This guy's won national championships. He's not going to want to hear that. So I'm not saying that I want Auburn to be mediocre. Or I want Auburn to be, but I keep it real. Like I'm on a real tip here. Whomever is the Auburn coach is going to have to cut some of his losses. And whoever the Auburn coach is, they're not going to be able to clean house. Once again, Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast, talking Auburn football. Like the video, subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And if you don't want no sunshine pumping and you want some cookie cutter stuff, go to some of those other channels. It's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.